What does dentistry have to do with basketball? My name is Paul, Dr. Nacho Goodman, and my dream growing up was to play professional basketball in the NBA. That dream failed, didn't even come close to succeeding. When you grow to this size, and you have this speed, you gotta get new dreams, backup dreams. But what I did do is work on my form with shooting three-point shots, work on my fundamentals, so I could have the confidence to step out onto the court and knock down threes. It's the same thing with dentistry. Work on your form, invest in your fundamentals so you have that confidence that when you walk into the operatory, you can make things as predictable as possible. And why do I say as predictable as possible? Because dentisting, like basketball, is an in-game thing. So many things happen that make it challenging. Like when you're doing a class 2 composite on a 55-year-old, on number 15, and you say open, and the patient goes like that, and you want to think, do you even know how words work? And then you're saying open like an alligator to a 55-year-old man questioning all of your life decisions. It's not easy. So set yourself up for success by investing in the skills you need to succeed. I call it your dentisting core. Your mind skills, your word skills, your hand skills, and your heart skills. And it's an entire career thing. Always working, always getting better, investing in coaching, so life can be more fun for you. Will you be more productive and make more money? Yes. Will dentistry be more fun? Double yes. Because if you don't have these skills, if you don't work on them, dentistry, like basketball, can cause you so much grief and aggravation and annoyance. Because we signed up for a career where we do full contact arts and crafts on people who don't want to be there or pay for it. It's the exact opposite of starring in a Broadway play. Running a dental practice is the exact opposite of running a Broadway play. No one wants to be there, no one wants to pay for it, and they want it to be over as soon as possible. So at Dental Nachos and Super Dentist Boost Camp and all the things we do to help you succeed, we have so many people here to support you, here for you to ask questions, here to help you with your form, your fundamentals, and your confidence. And that's not just with clinical skills. That's with the outside the operatory stress you deal with, managing your team, dealing with patients' complaints, like why doesn't my spoiled guac PPO cover everything? I wanted to cover world peace. I pay for my spoiled guac PPO, it should cover everything. Those are the things that we deal with as dentisting humans. So the only thing you can do is continually to work on that dentisting core. Work on your mind skills, your business skills, your leadership skills. Work on your clinical skills, invest in that. Work on your communication skills, which is arguably the most important thing. And by arguably, I mean it's the most important thing. It's all important. Think of the Olympics: gold, silver, bronze. Clinical skills, silver. Communication skills, gold. Because it's something you take with you all the time in every part of your dentisting life. So to show you my form, my fundamentals, my confidence, I'm proud that I can still walk out onto a court and knock down an NBA lane three. Let's see how it goes. I am so excited for this video podcast and webinar with two of my favorite people that I would not know without the power of Dental Nachos. You're going to meet them soon, but I just want to share with you, it's so important to be part of a community that cares. Dentistry can be such a lonely place, even though you're surrounded by people. So whether that community is Dental Nachos, Dentist Job Connect, or community in your area, I recommend you be part of all of them. Find people in your corner, find people who have your back. This is a message that I got through DM. I want to let you know, I look at your page often, Dental Nachos. Thank you so much for creating this community of people who aren't afraid to ask questions and share their experiences. It's a beautiful online community that shows up in person for each other. It's a beautiful gift you've given to our field. I know you already know this, but I hope you feel great about it. And I hope you meet in person. We meet in person, shake your hand one day. And it's so important, everyone who's watching in, whether you're a dental student, whether you're a new grad, whether you're a dentist, whether you work with dentists, whether you work with anyone, to count your wins, because this is one of my wins. And I sometimes get annoyances sent at me through running free Facebook groups. I sometimes get annoyances sent to me from my patients. So count your wins. And it's going to be so awesome to share two of our awesome wins in just a second. But this is sponsored by Dentist Job Connect, an awesome online platform that helps you find the job to help you survive, thrive, and not cry. Helps practice owners unlock more freedom, free time, financial growth, and most of all, fewer hygiene checks. If you're watching in and you need an amazing job or need to hire an amazing associate, text hire to 215-798-9897 or visit dentistjobconnect.com. If you'd like to see any of our 300 open positions, both of our webinar guests today, an amazing new dentist, found their jobs through Dentist Job Connect. Text job to 215-798-9897. So I love coffee and these two guys. So I have my own coffee. They can start their videos so we can welcome them to our webinar. Dr. Ahad and Dr. Brandon. So I love the movies, guys. You guys can unmute yourself too, where we start in the now and we go back, right? So I know one of you played hockey. I know one of you grew up in the Northeast. Not interested in that in this moment. I'm interested in that photo. So Brandon, tell me what's happening in that photo. You guys sent me that photo. I was so glad to see it. What's happening in that photo?
Yeah, Ahad came out to visit Missouri. We were looking at one of the Springfield practices. So I currently work at Access Dental Dentures and Implants, and we were able to recruit Ahad to join our company.
And that's awesome. Ahad, you tell me what's going on in that photo for you.
Yeah, Brandon and I kept in touch even after school and working as the interns. And I just wanted to ask him how his job was going. And he said, "Hey, it's still open. If you want to come down, come visit." So we went, I hung out the whole weekend with him, and I said, "All right, let's go for it."
Awesome. We're going to dig into this story more, but the luckiest person here really is Dr. Arash Ahmadiyya for knowing me, because through knowing me, Dental Nachos and Dentist Job Connect, Dr. Arash has Dr. Brandon, has Dr. Ahad, and multiple other associates through Dental Nachos and Dentist Job Connect. So I want you guys to answer questions, not necessarily for me, but for people who are just like you. That is my favorite phrase to patients. So when you are seeing a patient tomorrow, later this afternoon, or on Monday, and they are afraid, they are scared, they don't know if they want to spend the money, they don't want to spend the time, say, "Oh, I had a patient who was just like you. They weren't sure if dental implants were worth it. Let me show you a video. Let me show you a picture." It's totally normal to feel that way. Mrs. Smith, Janice felt that way. But look at what happened here. She said she wished she did it sooner. So there is no time machine, guys, like Back to the Future. But one of the things that I kindly annoy dental students to do is pay attention to their life after dental school from the first day of dental school. They should be looking for their job, not applying, looking for their job the first day of dental school, day one of D1. It is never too early to start treatment planning your careers for success and happiness. But let's just drill down, pun intended, for each of you. How did you guys find the time and money to take online C as a dental student, to show up in person as a dental student, to go to my office as a dental student? Ahad, how did you find the time, money, and energy to do that as a dental student? I'll let you go first.
So for me, I always wanted to be really good at what I do. And at that point, I knew in dentistry, like I wasn't sure if it was my calling yet. It was my first time as a D1. And I said, how can I be better? How can my patient communication get better? How can I be a better dentist? How can I relate to the weird world of dentistry? And I was looking, and at that time, I think that was 2018. I think Nachos had just started, and I contacted you for like an idea paper, I think, Paul. It's been so long. And I just wanted your thoughts on education. And you just gave me a whole bunch of information. I was like, wow, this guy's knowledgeable. He knows a lot of stuff. And I said, like, how can I stay connected with you? And you said, hey, like, just join our Facebook group. And if you want to work as an intern, we'll gladly take you. And the rest is history. And I just followed everything you said, and everything you told me has been correct. And I don't know why more dental students and people don't listen. And that's just that. Paul did not pay me to say that. That's literally my experience. Like, so for the
I
dental
wore the
students,
shirt again, Arash, because I've kindly annoyed you over the years, right? Because I care. You've said, "Hey, Paul, I want to do this thing." And I go, "I love you, Arash. I want the best for you." That thing may not result in your happiness. I mean, we're going to talk more about your move here. But why should dental students, it's such an emotional time, kind of open their mind to people in the real world, maybe giving them information that they don't necessarily want to hear, but need to hear? How's that benefited you?
I think it's helped me just grow as a clinician. And honestly, every hour, every minute that I spent on online CE in person, connecting with, other dentists my age and older than me, they just gave me wisdom. And that wisdom helped me grow. It helped me understand and just be a better clinician and be better at what I do.
I love that. Now, Brandon Labe, I remember everything and nothing at once. So I actually remember the first time you came to an in-person C when I invited people for free. You came from Center City out into the main line. You sat in the back with three of your other tall friends. in the
Yep.
main line, and I was giving a course, I think, on practice transitions. Maybe you remember better.
Yep.
But take us from that moment to your future, that you're a D1, you got all this stuff going on, and I send out messaging, hey, do you want to come to a free CE course? How did you find the time to show up? How did you find the money? How did you fit it into your life?
So I mean, financially, most CE as a dental student is very affordable or free. And so if you reach out to, you know, whoever the host, a lot of times they have dental student discounts or just they'll just let you go for free. Finding the time, you know, it's one of those things where I knew I wanted to go into general dentistry. And so getting straight A's in dental school does not equate to being a good dentist. And I'm not trying to tell you guys not to study because you got to know your stuff, but do you need to know every single step of the Krebs cycle or, you know, all the different phases of amalgam? Like those kinds of things are not as important when it comes to clinical dentistry. And so I would focus on what matters when it came to what they're teaching you in dental school, but I didn't spend every second memorizing everything. And so that gave me some free time to take CE on things that would matter, like patient communication, treatment planning, and you know, more advanced restorative
I
work.
remember you telling me, Brandon, because you were in Ahad, you were at NYU, and Brandon was in Philadelphia, so he was able to work with us consistently throughout his career. Matt Kim, who I just spoke with, was great. He got introduced us to. You told me this, and this is to inspire. You said you learned as a D1 and D2 my ways of talking to patients, and then you would see your D3 and D4 buddies just totally messing it up with patients. Tell us more about that.
Yes. I mean, it's one of those things where talking to patients is not as easy as you think it would be. You know, even if you're a naturally good talker, like I'm not, I'm more of a quieter person in all honesty. And how you say things matters and how you present them. And working with patients, you know, it's a high stress environment. Patients don't want to be there. They don't want to spend money with you. And so it's very important to find ways to connect with them. And, you know, you can, when I would watch other students kind of talk to these patients, you know, they would be using all these different scientific terms that they had just learned in dental school. And you could see the patient just like with this confused look on their face, just like, what are you saying to me? Like, it's like a different language. So learning how to use patient-friendly terms to make your patients understand what you're trying to explain to them, it was so critical, learning that like from an early stage.
Dennis, when people are not able to simplify a complex thing, people lose confidence in them because anyone can speak their technical language. So we help dental practice owners not say, you're going to make 32.5% of adjusted production and have a 401k with the 2,000 hours. Say, if you come to this position, you're not going to cry every day. We're going to make sure you make over $200,000 a year. And more important, you're going to feel supported with a good team and good dental assistant. That's how you talk to dentists about associate jobs. I then taught people like you to talk to practice owners about their skill sets. And I think it's such a key point you're sharing about how the words that you say will influence the success of your day. So Brandon, how did all of this benefit you? D1 going to events, showing up at the Dental Success Summit with Dr. Mark Costas. How did that benefit you as an early new dentist in your career?
It's really just given me a leg up when it comes to my efficiency, I would say, as far as, you know, with being in a high volume practice, I get 2 to 3 minutes for a hygiene check if I'm lucky. And sometimes I have to convince patients to take out all their teeth in that time, and having the right phrases ready. Like, again, I don't really like using scripts, but I have some key phrases that I like to use.
Talking points. Yeah.
Exactly.
Scripts are too robotic in anything. Yeah. Talking points, common objections. This is like this. Crown's like a car. We use it every day. It gets wear and tear. It's normal for it to last 5 to 10 years. Even if you take great care of it, you got to replace it. Doesn't fail. So now I want to watch this video and I want to talk about your first jobs. Okay. So some of you are in your first jobs and talk to us, but let's watch this video here together. What I'll share with all of you, whether it's patient communication, whether it's finding a job, whether it's having people have confidence in you, videos help. So let's watch this short video.
All right, hi. Well, I'm Arash Ahmadnia, and I am here to talk about Dentist Job Connect and what a fantastic resource it's been for me and my company, Access Dental Services, especially for us being in Southwest Missouri. It is not a place that we've easily been able to recruit, but over the last 3 years, we have found a total of 4 doctors that we have coming on board. We're interviewing 4 more right now, and I believe 2 of them are actually coming out to Missouri in May. So that's not bad for 8 doctors in 3 years, when I think it took us usually about 18 months, almost 2 years. The last open position we had, it took us almost 2 years to fill before Dentist Job Connect. So.
And I'm Brandon Labe. I'm one of Arash's new associates. Dentist Job Connect was great for me with finding different opportunities. It's very well laid out, and it kind of tells you all the different benefits of each job opportunity. And it's very easy to use. You kind of can search by like location and everything, and it just made it very simple and easy to find different opportunities.
Awesome, Brandon. I just want to make sure, get a screenshot of this Job Connect team and put how lucky is Dr. Arash Shenomi. Even though he's a 49ers fan, Brandon, I like him. So tell us, I want each of you to tell us about your job search. Brandon, I'll talk to you. Give us just a minute or two about, you finished your GPR. We're going to talk about GPRs later in their own bucket. But you finish your GPR, or you're doing your GPR and think, I got to find a job. I got to pay my loan. Just tell us about your search.
Yeah, I mean, my search started much earlier. I started out pretty much the D2, started looking for jobs, kind of to what you mentioned with tried to network. My original plan was to go to California because I grew up there. And so when I was a D3 and D4, I started going on interviews and actually meeting practices and whatnot. And I realized that the opportunities were just not there in the sense of, the things that I care about are, financial and mentorship and,
Tell us more about that, Brandon, because some of these, just be real. Nachos is JBN. We're going to ask Arash. We're going to ask Ahad next. JBN, just be nice. Someone does a crown when you would have done a filling. Don't call him the worst dentist in the world. That's JBN. But JBR is dental school debt is $600,000, $800,000. JBR is, we just had a position in Dallas, Texas that got 27 applicants and they hired someone through us. And what that means is 26 people didn't get that job. The same job in Rochester, New York is getting 1 applicant. So tell us a little more about, you want to go back to California. That's where your family is. That's where your friends are. What was it inside of you that said, hey, that's not going to be a good move for me?
Yeah, I mean, it was just realizing the opportunities that were available. These associateships were mostly where you're working out of like one chair, you get like one assistant. The experience and the patients that are there, you don't get as many reps, and so your career trajectory, your skill development, without getting those kind of reps and challenging yourself, it's going to be a lot harder to improve and learn how to manage these higher end cases. And to make it in a city, you usually need a little bit more expanded skill set. And for me, going rural was an opportunity to, where the patients, they don't have any other choices at the end of the day. My specialists are all an hour plus
and
away.
that's, I want to dig into that. So Ahad came to my office. I got specialist, I got seasoned dentist. They ain't taking the new dentist. The patient has choices. So if you come to Center City, Philadelphia, you have 6 restaurant choices at 13th on 13th. But if we go to Springfield, Missouri, no one yell at me in Springfield, Missouri. My sense is it doesn't have the same Elvez Street for restaurants. So when you and your fiance go out, Brandon, your choices are limited. It doesn't mean it's bad. It just means there's more opportunities for newer dentists when the patients don't have as many choices. So you say you're going to go to Missouri, you use Dentist Job Connect. We'll talk about that in a second. Ahad, tell us your job search story. When did you start? What were interviews like? What decisions did you make to get to this point? I'm going to ask you about going down to work with Brandon, but tell us to where you are today, literally where you're sitting today.
So I started my search like Brandon D2. I met with a lot of doctors. I was connected with my PDA and my local Lehigh Valley Dental Society. So by the time I graduated, I had a lot of job opportunities. I think I had like 15 interviews, which was pretty crazy. I didn't realize there's that much opportunity in Pennsylvania. And I would say I was aiming for a practice where I could learn like high-end dentistry and high-end aesthetics. And I thought, oh, it would be great. And honestly, looking back, it was a great experience. I got to deal with a lot of different type of patients. I got to do some aesthetic cases on the side. Where I started to fall on the wayside was I was also doing the Resnick Implant Institute, and I wanted to place implants, and I didn't get the opportunity that I was promised. And things like that happen. It's normal. And I wanted more. And so I spoke to Brandon a couple of times about this year, and I was like, hey, Brandon, this is what I want to do. Do you have any advice for me? And he said, come down to Missouri and just take a look at what we have to offer and take it into serious consideration.
I love you sharing that. So one thing I'll just share that I hope helps, and I've thought of it since I did a multiple year GPR at Albert Einstein. And what that meant is I followed around ENT residents, I followed around surgery residents, I followed around mech residents. And my own associate, you guys know Dr. Evan, he had to leave us because his wife is a neurologist and got into a program in San Francisco. And if some dentist just thought of this as like a private practice residency or an associate residency where you don't have to make forever decisions, but you can make decisions for the next 3 or 4 years to develop your skill set that you can use forever. The reality is there's a dentist in Phoenix who just DM'd me that got terminated from her part-time job. She only has a 2-day-a-week job now because that office didn't have enough patients for them. Speak to me a little bit, maybe Ahad, you could talk more about this because Brandon knows this. Have you been in situations as an associate dentist where the patient volume wasn't there, the availability of procedures wasn't there, and it doesn't mean it's a bad office, it's just normal for the area? Tell me about that availability challenge.
Absolutely. I mean, in the beginning, I struggled. Like, I had to really use the fundamentals that I learned dental nachos and treatment planning to get patients to come in to do work. It was an established practice for 20 plus years, and a lot of the work, was being distributed to the main doctor just because of trust. It wasn't me; it's just I was a young new grad, and there were days where it was just empty. And it was good that you told me to get a daily guarantee. It helped. It helped me build an income. But it wasn't what like Brandon experienced, like high volume, high pressure. Like it wasn't like that, which is you need that to put in your reps to get your skill set up, as Brandon had mentioned earlier.
And I want to share before I ask Brandon, because so I have 2 awesome associates. One is actually moving for their husband's finance job, but their associateship with me fits for their life. So it's just like a treatment plan for a patient. Dentists need a treatment plan in their life. My amazing associates been with me 3 years and 6 years. They do fillings, they do crowns, they do hygiene checks, they do implant dentistry. They do not do root canals. They do not do extractions. They work as part of an out-of-network team with my brother and I. They're in a place where all on 4s are being done. And for some dentists, that is awesome. And for some dentists, it's not awesome for them. So I'm kind of just sharing. Ahad, you took a very normal treatment plan of, I did a GPR, I paid attention to CE, I'm going to go into this area and find a job, but it just didn't have the patient volume for you to reach your dream. Now, Brandon, we talk frequently, but when you got your job with Arash, did you have a patient availability problem?
I did not. Quite the opposite. We're booked out like 3 months. Our getting in with our hygiene takes about 6 months, and it's not only the patient volume, but also the patient demographics in the sense of people in Missouri, just tend not to value their teeth as much. And, so all these patients that I'm seeing need tons of work. And so it's a lot easier when, like getting almost equated to baseball, right? The more at bats you have in theory, the more hits you should get.
And your context for this is, so everyone understands, is it's normal. It's normal to see a 40-year-old that might need a full mouth extraction. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
And it's normal for them to go to you and say, hey, we got to take out all our teeth and do dentures. And it's not a judgment on that 40-year-old. It's not a judgment on it, but the business model, the dental culture there is normal, right?
Yes.
Or that happens.
Yes. No, it's a thing where it's just people don't grow up going to the dentist. And, I have patients who it's like, my parents had dentures when they were in their 30s or 40s. And so, they never learned how to take care of their own teeth. And so then they end up in dentures at the same age. Because
and if I ask you some questions that just feel like layups, it's just for the audience. Brandon, you have all these patients that need full mouth extractions, dentures, all this stuff. How do they afford it, right? If they have that, how are they, you're producing over $1 million a year. You have these patients that need all of this work, in a lot of ways, fundamental care, extraction and dentures. How do they pay for that care?
Yeah, so we work primarily with Medicaid and Medicare. It's probably 60-70% of what we do. And, these patients, the Medicaid and Medicare reimburse for that stuff. And they actually, in Missouri, because there's such a big need for dentists, they do reimburse us pretty decently, like pretty comparable to PPO fees, if not better.
And that's why I want to ask how to say, so it's reasonable for you to sit down, take out 20 teeth, do a denture, even at Medicare, Medicaid fees, and have a very I call it patient-centered, which means you're helping the patient, and productive morning. Walk us through one of those mornings or afternoons. You know, you and your assistant have scheduled a full mouth extraction and dentures. Can that be a $3,000 afternoon?
Oh, very easily. And with the extractions very much add up, and these extraction cases are usually taken out like anywhere from 20 to 30 teeth. I've done a couple where it's been all 32 teeth.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where when you multiply that, you know, like even if it's $150 per extraction, you know, that adds up real quickly. And then the dentures themselves are, we do immediates a lot of the times, and that's another, you know, at least $1,000 per arch, if not more.
And that's how you can have these mornings. Now, Ahad, I think of you guys as, you know, just like two awesome baseball players that you have the same-ish skills as Brandon, but you weren't doing too many full mouth extraction immediate denture cases in PA. How come?
It's just the need, I think, and the practice that I was working at. It was more like PPO. It was like 80% PPO, 20% fee for service. It was just a very different, you know, ball game.
And so even though you have the skills in your proverbial toolkit, you can't deploy those skills. And then I also, Brandon, this is you. So I don't want this to come off the wrong way. But when you have an insurance paying for your fees, case acceptance can be quite easy, right? Now, Ahad, you may be up in PA and you might have someone who needs 3 crowns and 3 root canals. But are there times where patients, even though they needed it, and you did a good presentation, said, not right now, Dr. Ahad, I can't
Absolutely
right now?
Yep. It just happened to me an hour ago.
Yeah. So Brandon, you really have positioned yourself, and I know Ahad's joining you, to be in a very sweet spot of dental need, helping people, right? Without you, these people don't have anyone. And the and part with that is they're getting a lot of this care paid for. So in my office, when you see we go through financial agreements and complicated things, it's not as big of a factor to preventing them from moving forward. So I love this. We're now going to kind of do our speed round for us here. Even if I've asked some of these things already, I just want these for our awesome podcast. So Ahad, when did you graduate from dental school?
2022.
And what do you think is important for a dental student to know to be successful as an associate? Broad picture. Someone's a D3, their patient just canceled, they got 2 hours, and it's like, I want to do something to be successful as an associate. What would you tell them to do?
3 words: invest in yourself. That's it.
And tell us more about some opportunities or ideas or examples, whether it's podcast, CE, observing. What are some good examples of investing in yourself?
I think, no pun intended or anything like that, but the best base foundation I found was Dental Nachos, because it was online, with easy access. Majority of it is for free. Paul does a great job of doing that stuff. But even if you're not into that, say you have some extra cash laying around, there's a bunch of good business courses out there. You could go to do some implant training wherever your school might have some connections. Do things like that are easy access and not too much of a cost. But if you have the money, spend in yourself, and you will see the dividends pay out.
I love that. I want to share two funny stories. One, a D3 from Penn literally just messaged me on Instagram yesterday, Brandon, and said, oh, I want to observe at some offices in Philadelphia, Dr. Nacho. And I said, call me on my phone, right? I do stuff for dental students I wouldn't do for other people. Other people get charged free. She called me in 7 minutes. I said, hey, I'll help you with this, but my office is in New Jersey. Go on Dental Nachos and make a post. And she already has 3 offices to go to. So the funny story is I live in a building in Philly. You guys know which one. And there's elevators and there's dental students. So one time it was me, Mrs. Nacho, and the moderators, and there was like 3 dental students and 1 non-dental student. And they open up the door and they go, oh my gosh, it's you. I can't believe it's you. I can't believe it's you, Dr. Nacho. And it was like a Friday night. So maybe they're Friday night activities. So the non-dentist person was just standing there, right? And they go, I can't believe it. I follow you. And then when they were getting out, he turned to me, goes, are you a celebrity? And I go, no, I'm not really a celebrity, but I'm like a dentist celebrity. So I say this out of care. You reached out to me, Ahad. You came to Ahad. Do you think Mark Casas is approachable, Brandon? Do you think if people message him on Instagram, he might help them?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. No, you'd be amazed. All these speakers you see, most of them are extremely open. And if you reach out to them personally, I haven't really had one not respond yet.
And I have to stay sane, right? So I got to spend time with my family. So guess what? It's like Kristen Wiig from Bridesmaids. Dental students, help me, I'm poor. I said to this person yesterday, call me on the phone. I'll talk to you right now while I'm getting my family ready. I don't do that for associates. I don't do that for practice owners. I would literally never spend time with my family. So leverage the help me, I'm poor dental student, I don't know anything thing. Reach out to your heroes, your celebrities, your role models, ask them questions. Brandon, same for you. When did you graduate? And anything you want to add to being successful as an associate?
Yeah, so I graduated in 2022 as well. And I think one of the biggest things you can do is pick a skill and focus on it and really try to get it down, whether that's leadership, patient communication. It could be adding another skill, like extractions. I took a lot of like CE and on extractions in dental school, and I also try to spend extra time in the oral surgery clinics when I could. And that was something that helped me get again more experience in that.
I
CE.
love that, Brandon. I want to drill down on that because one of the things I'll share is I often see really enthusiastic, motivated new dentists treatment planning their C in the wrong way. I will explain. A D4 or a new dentist who's 26 years old, who's young and looks like they don't know what they're doing because they're young and don't know what they're doing, is not going to do great with sleep apnea appliances. They're not. No one is going to look at a 27-year-old when they're 70 and want to have an uncomfortable conversation about their bedroom habits. Okay. They're just not going to want to do that. They're going to want to talk to someone who looks like Dr. Dave Slobodinsky. They're going to want to talk to someone who looks like Dr. Stephanie Matt. So I believe I did the thing, extractions, patient communication, stuff that can have an immediate impact. And maybe you guys have seen this. Find something that annoys the owner dentist, right? So if you become good at surgical extractions and an owner dentist has so much to do, they're welcome to say, oh, hey, Dr. Ahad, take care of the surgical extraction for me. But if you want to become good at veneers and they do veneers, Dr. Todd Fleischman is going to do the veneers, not because he doesn't want you to win, not because he is competing, because it just makes the most sense. So I love that. This is my favorite. So Ahad, can you share the importance of doing a GPR or AGD? You're a couple years away. Tell us about your GPR and why you would tell a dental student to apply to GPRs and AGDs. What kind of impact does it have on them?
Okay, so before I say anything, I'm gonna say it's about finding the right GPR that fits what you want to do in life. So for me, I looked at probably 30 or 40 GPRs, and I wanted to do implants and cosmetics. The cosmetics was going to be very difficult, but I was able to tailor my experience towards that. Surgery is much easier to find, so I went to a GPR in the Lehigh Valley, and I would say it allowed me to do both of the things that I enjoyed. And the importance of that is you start developing a skill set and a foundation where you feel comfortable doing things that are going to have an impact right as you leave as an associate. And so I think by having that additional training, having the extra confidence, having the ability to communicate better and more effectively and efficiently, the GPR gives you that opportunity outside of the school, and having to have older dentists hold your hand through treatment planning, through helping them through every little step. That GPR gives you that confidence to do better. And so that's why I think it's extremely important to do GPR, but also finding the GPR that fits the needs and wants you are looking for as you graduate.
And before Brandon goes, I want to share what is wrong with dentists and dental students. Okay, I will share. Ahad, your advice is awesome. Dental implants are one of the most successful products you can give to a human being. I'm wearing New Balance sneakers. Dental implants are more successful most of the time than the length of my sneakers. I use these sneakers every day. I'm going to need a new pair next year, Brandon. Okay. I don't run to the store and say, what kind of failure is this? Are you trying to scam me? So dental implants are wildly successful as any product. They work out well over 9 out of 10 times. But you know what dentists say on dental nachos? If you say dental implants are great, they go, but one time in band camp, I saw peri-implantitis, okay? I'm going to take this and turn this to the GPR EGD world to inspire people. I have done poll after poll after poll after poll, and I've got the highest of 3 out of 100 with people regretting their GPR. 3 out of 100. Like 90 saying, I liked it or loved it. Brandon, tell us about your GPR, and I love Ahad's advice about finding the right GPR, but whether it's your friend, I find most dentists are satisfied with this experience. They love it. So tell us about your experience, Brandon.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love my GPR experience. I think it's one of those things where you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And as a dental student, it's like that. I forgot what the curve is called, but it's like you think you're up here.
Dunning-Kruger,
yeah. More experience, you just slowly realize you know nothing, and then you start coming back up. And like once you realize, like, okay, I have a lot to learn, and that's like in residency, that's where I got through that phase, and I feel like I accelerated through that so much quicker, because of learning, all like making mistakes. You haven't done enough dentistry in dental school to make all the mistakes, and It's again learning how to advance your skill set, how to talk to patients better. In residency, we did a lot of we were in the ER sometimes, and when you have it's someone's patient like live in their hand instead of just a tooth, learning how to handle that pressure is very beneficial for managing.
I love what you shared there. But also what we talked about is you learn how to handle feedback. You see how bigger, stronger dentists do it. You up your professionalism. I will share as someone who hires associates. The main reason I require GPR EGD is because that is a year of handling feedback. That's a year of someone saying, not right, do it different. I got your back and it's wrong. I got your back and it's wrong.
Yeah.
I got your back and you got to do it better. And I have found, this is not all the time, that if people do not have this experience like medical residents have, they have a difficult time handling the feedback from the owner dentist. And they don't necessarily see it as I have your back and it's wrong. They hear it as I stink and they're mad and they get frustrated. And I just think that entire year, and you go to the ER, you see how these things work and you go, this is how a team works together. My 30th birthday, I was working on a Saturday and the trainer from my high school said, a girl was hit in the face with a field hockey stick. Can you help? And without missing a beat, I told my team, send her over. Because due to my GPR experience, she had an alveolar fracture. She had a whole mess on her hands. I wasn't able to handle that in my office that you were in Pennington, Ahad. I wasn't at my GPR, but I was able to help them with the next step. I was able to manage getting to the oral surgeon, and my blood pressure or heart rate didn't go up at all. If I had not had an experience like that, it would have just thrown me off. So I love that you guys have shared that GPRs are not just for more crown preps. They're for more of everything. A popular term is mentorship. What does good mentorship look like to you, Ahad, as an associate dentist? Someone saying, I want mentorship. Tell this audience some traits, characteristics of what good mentorship looks like.
Good mentorship, I would say, is when you can go up to the owner doc or whoever you're working with and be like, hey, I want some feedback on this. How can I get better? Is there anything I can do more efficiently? Do you use a specific type of burr? Like, how do you handle this? And if they're willing to sit down and talk to you and even treatment plan with you in the beginning, I think that's so important because it helps build not only your confidence, but it helps build a communication channel between you two. So you feel comfortable asking them even about your mistakes or anything else that might happen in the weird world of dentistry.
I want to share what Brandon goes. This is really important for associates. It's better to ask more questions than not enough questions. It's better to ask more questions than not enough questions. I will give you an example. Your crown doesn't fit at 3 o'clock and your 4 o'clock patient is one of the most important patients in the office and they're coming in for an implant crown insert. I don't necessarily want you to start taking a new impression and making a new temporary at that time. What I want you to do is say, hey, Dr. Paul, this crown doesn't fit. What should we do next? And we work on it together. Associates, because of this thing inside of them sometimes where they say, I don't want to look bad, make themselves, Brandon, look extra bad. Yeah. So it's very key. So the ability to ask questions, and that's where it goes to this. And Brandon, I know you have a unique situation with Arash. How often do you see the dentist? How can you contact them? How did they set you up? What do they want to do in those scenarios? So Brandon, you tell me, what does mentorship look like to you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just having someone available to call. At my office, I work by myself. I haven't really had Arash came like the first week and once a month for like the first 2 months just because I was in all the insurances. But in reality, I'm on my own, and so it means that I do need to know how to handle the day-to-day. But I always have Arash to fall back on, and I can give him a call to like, hey, how would you treatment plan this? Or I ran into this situation today. I did this, but I feel like it was inefficient. There had to be an easier solution. Like, how would you have figured that out?
And mentorship is a lot through your phone because we have an office 5 miles away. I ain't driving over to look at the patient all the time, my brother. So even if it's 5 miles away, mentorship is the availability to ask a question. So Ahad, you're relocating for this opportunity. Tell our audience, I love this authenticity and vulnerability from you. You're a successful associate, did a GPR, you're in a state that you like, but you're like, this is not exactly what I want for my next step. So you're making a different next step. You're moving to work on Brandon's team with Arash. You found this new Dentist Job Connect. Why are you relocating for this opportunity?
Honestly, it's the surgery aspect. I spent $40,000 or $45,000 on the Implant Institute this year, and I still have a couple more courses to go. I'm a fellow now, and even Dr. Resnick was like, "You're probably the youngest fellow. There's a bunch of 40-year-olds, and you're not even 30." So he was like, "You should be placing implants. You should be doing all of the stuff that I'm teaching you. Like, I'm happy that you're here and you're investing in yourself, but if you're not able to do that in a practice, then I think you should reconsider." And so that kind of planted the seed. It's like, hey, maybe I'm not doing enough. Like, yes, I was doing bone grafting, membrane surgery, but I wasn't placing the implants. I wasn't doing the stuff that I had invested in myself to do. And so I was confused. I was looking and I'm like, I'm just not finding the opportunities. Like, there were practices that place implants, but then the owner does it, but the associate
Yeah.
doesn't do them. So, and for me, I was like, listen, this is a big investment. Like, I could have bought a car or I could have invested in some other shape or form of something. And so I was like, I need to go somewhere where I can use this $40,000 investment in me and start helping people and making a difference in my career. So that's why I started to talk to Brandon, and Brandon said, "You will get this opportunity if you come down." So I went and I said, "All right, let's do this because I can actually make an impact."
And I love that. It's going to fuse into my question with Brandon. And you guys are both so awesome to do this. And you guys know me. I'm kindly annoying. Both of you, if you've not read the book To Sell is Human by Daniel Pink, it's amazing. And it talks about agitation and irritation. And I'm constantly trying to agitate. You're constantly trying to agitate your patients. Hey, like your denture flops around? Like you mentioned that like 3 or 4 recall visits. Like we can do something because you're worth it, right? Like I love eating food. Do you love eating food? That's agitation. Irritation is, why don't you value chewing and do not have enough money to do implants? People tune off with irritation. They lean forward with agitation. And Brandon's allowed me to do this kindly. I say, new grad spends $35,000 on CE. Is that nacho-tastic or nacho nuts? And what's interesting, guys, is I'm getting the nacho-tastic from the older dentist, and on Instagram, I'm getting the nacho nuts from your cohort. So Brandon, you've invested $35,000. Hod's invested. How did you find the money? What CE have you taken, and what kind of impact has it had on you? I think you might be muted. You kindly muted yourself to move things to probably.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Perfect.
All right. So for me, I started investing right out of residency, and I didn't have really any money. This is my first career. So I actually use Doc2Doc loans. They're a company that kind of helps people such as myself, and you can get a loan for.
That's a sponsor of our groups. And just so I can interject, that story, I love founder stories, not surprisingly. I'm founder of a company. Zwadi Marshall is an anesthesiologist. He didn't grow up with a lot of money. He goes to medical school. He goes to anesthesiology residency in Atlanta. He gets a fellowship in Harvard and Boston. He goes there and no one will rent him an apartment. They say, you are a bad financial risk. And he goes, how messed up is it that I have done everything right? College, medical school, residency. And that's how they started this. And so many dentists, and my team can share it, you can get up to $100,000 with, it's more nuanced than this, but in a fairly simple way, right, Brandon? It was fairly simple to get it.
Yes, no, it was pretty straightforward. Again, as long as you're asking for something reasonable and you can justify it, you fill out an application. Took me maybe 10 minutes, and you get your quote pretty quickly.
But what I also say, Brandon, I love this, is how much did you take out to go to dental school? Roughly.
Yeah, at $500K.
So why are all these yelly dentists saying, Paul, don't tell new dentists to take out debt? That's irresponsible. You're $500,000 in debt, and what did you take out? Another 35 or 20 to 35?
I took out 20,000.
20,000.
Yeah.
To take CE.
Yep.
And you're able to pay it back with your new skills.
Yep. No, it took me like maybe 4 months to pay off. And it's nice because the interest, they don't charge you the full interest. You just pay the interest of the time that you're paying back the loan. And so it's very easy. And yeah, it was very well worth the investment.
And we've done that with so many dentists. There's a nice dentist who reached out to me through Nachos who wanted to be a traveling surgeon, and he needed to buy like $25,000 worth of stuff. No bank's going to really give that to him. I'm saying it's impossible. He uses Doc2Doc. He gets the stuff. He pays it back with the money he makes being the traveling surgeon. Now, how about the what? I know you guys have kindly said about Dental Nachos, and Right Global is a sponsor. Most of the Dental Nachos online CE is free or ridiculously inexpensive. I want to call people, that's your starter CE, right? The Nacho On Demand Supreme is your start. Listen to Todd Fleischman, see Carl Kroner. What you guys are doing is taking action on impactful CE, Brandon. So which ones have you taken? I know some of the sponsors that have been valuable to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the biggest ones I've taken is the Right Global Fellowship. The Restorative Fellowship. they kind of take you from, you know, basic restorative to full mouth rehab. And it's been great with like my growth as a new grad, as it's, you know, making sure your fundamentals are very strong, and then taking up how to take more complex cases where it's doing like a full mouth of crowns. And, you know, you just the first module itself, it's a, you know, it is a more expensive course, but the first module itself just paid for it. Just learning how to do, you know, my posterior crown preps, it cut my time in half, and it made my quality better, even though I was spending way less time.
I also want to share this. I want to ask how next. I've run a dental practice for many years. I've been a new associate, right? The team doesn't trust you to do implants if you can't get a crown done in under 2 hours, right? The team doesn't trust you to do extractions if you take forever on a class 2 composite. So teams, you need your team to have confidence in you, and you got to be able to do both. So whether you say, I'm going to run and go and do molar endo courses, I love what you shared, Brandon. Right Global helped you just with your fundamental everyday dentistry.
Yes. Yeah.
And then Ahad, you said the Resnick Implant Institute. Any other implant courses or any other courses of any type outside of the Dental Nachos world that you wanted to highlight for people watching in?
I've heard really good things about the Corner Institute for surgical extractions and extractions in general. But honestly, my main focus this year was just the implantology with the Resnick Institute.
Yeah, and that you're doing something where you kind of are investing in a whole thing, and you can't invest in two whole things at the same time. You know, you couldn't be doing this and endo, but Brandon, you just did the Corner Institute, right?
So I'm taking the Corner Institute in October, but I am doing both Right Global, and I'm doing the same fellowship as a HOD as far as the Resnick Implant Institute. And it is a bit time consuming. You know, I do spend a lot of time outside of, you know, I only work 30 hours a week, so I do have more free time now. But I spend quite a bit of time watching CE when I'm, you know, not dentist.
But what you guys are doing, I mean, you guys are looking at someone. I did a 3-year GPR, 3 full years. That means for 3 full years, and they gave me skills I could use forever. I'm not using all of those skills now, but there's no better investment in your own skills early in your career. And then the other thing, the stuff that doesn't show up on the stat sheet, whether it's baseball or hockey or basketball, taking these CE courses, it's great that you're friends with me, but I'm 46 and you guys are not 46, okay? We don't live the same lives. I got 2 kids. You don't have 2 kids, right? So when I see you at events, I love talking to you, but we are not peers. And we say this in a nice way. We are not living the same life. Has CE introduced you to people, whether it's online or in person, that have just literally become your friends? I'll let Ahad start.
So honestly, yeah, I met Brandon through CE, and I've made a couple other, I'm trying to think, a bunch of people in Philadelphia that just I've stayed in touch with. And it's actually made us felt more compatible because we're the same age. Like I'm not talking to 45, 50-year-old dentists, and it's just nice to have a community and people to reach out to and talk to about cases, life, you know, everything in between. So yeah, I think it has helped a lot.
And I'll let you go next, Brandon, but there's another awesome dentist, Dr. Parth Patel, who I found a job with the Eagles team dentist, and now he's going to be moving. I want to say this the right way. You need to find people who are doing the things that you're doing and be inspired by that, because not everybody's doing that. You could get the feedback of why you're doing so much, why you're investing so much. So my sense, Brandon, whether it's your Right Global cohort, it's refreshing to have a group of people, whether literally yours are all over the world, right? And right?
Yeah.
Has that helped you bond, Dennis, pun intended, with some colleagues your own age?
Absolutely. It's great because being in a rural position, you know, there aren't many people my age, let alone dentists that are in a similar position as me. And, you know, you go from dental school or residency where you're hanging out and you're surrounded by dentists to having no dentists around you. And it can get a little lonely sometimes in that way, where I don't have somebody to talk to about, hey, like this happened to me today. And, you know, if it's not a dentist, they don't understand it necessarily, or being able to bounce ideas off each other. And so it's been giving me a way to like meet new people, connect with people, and just be able to pick their brains or just vent to them sometimes and just kind of say like, hey, this happened and it sucked, and it just makes you feel better.
Yeah, and that's the magic. And I mean, I've described this many times, and Mary's been a new mom twice, right? It's like being a new mom and your child never grows up, and it's your career. It's your career. It's awesome. It's annoying. It's exhausting, and you need people going through that. We're only going to spend 7 more minutes. I want you guys to be done, but a couple last questions for you guys. You know, we talked about the CE courses. Go back to just the interview process. You know, Ahad, you had to go down and talk to Arash, right? So you've been just because you've been on 17 interviews. I got my team members here who are very seasoned. You could be on your 100th interview. You're going to be interviewing for something one day, and you're going to get that nervous feeling. Give a new grad an interview tip? Whether it's research the office, observe for the day, just any couple tips on interviewing.
The most important thing I would say is if you could do a working interview, that's the best. You may or may not be able to if you don't have your license, but I think being able to work with the assistants and the team at that particular office is probably going to be the most advantageous to you. But if you can't, then definitely research the office, read the reviews, join your local societies, and try to ask around about that dentist. I think that will speak volumes to how you're
Well,
going to be.
I'll
at that
add a
practice.
couple things. Let's reframe that. I'm really against working interviews, but I'm not against observation days. So one of the things is I'm going to go get my beard trim later, and I want to make a point with this. And I go there all the time, and I trust the owner. His name is Chris. And I go to Araya, and she's awesome. And I trust Chris and Araya. And Araya used to be new, Brandon, okay? Because I saw Chris train her, and because I saw Chris commit to hiring her, she has now become the person I see. If I showed up today and Chris and Araya said, we have some new guy named Ahad, we're not sure if we're going to hire him, we want to see how he does in your beard, I would leave and never come back. If they hired Ahad and said, hey, we're training him, he's new, he's observed us, I would give you a chance. So I would like to reframe it as the observation day. You said two things there, Ahad. One, you can't hire someone out of state without the license, right? That's a big
Correct.
problem. And number two, I feel it puts the patient, the assistant, and the dentist in quite a difficult scenario doing irreversible things. But I'm a huge fan of the observation day and a huge fan of feeling the energy in that office. So that's what you did when you went and had the coffee with Brandon. You had a chance to meet their team. Brandon, you went on some of those interviews in California. Actually, talk to us about this. How did you navigate like interviewing in California from Penn? I'm actually just curious. I know you didn't take those jobs, but how did you navigate that?
Yeah, so I had to convince a lot of owners to do interviews like over FaceTime. And then also I would do, like kind of stack my interviews on Christmas break. So I would do, I'd try to make as many interviews as I can whenever I would go home. But you can connect online with most dentists, and because of COVID now, it's become much more acceptable and commonplace to just do it over the phone.
And what you did, Ahad, and I actually think this is such an example. Brandon's your friend. You trust me. Arash Ahmadiyya has a wonderful reputation on this, but you still went down there and checked it out, right? So don't sign up for any job without checking it out in person.
Yeah.
It drives me crazy when these dental students say, I'm living in the middle of the country. I signed a lease in an apartment and they don't have enough patience for me. And I go, oh, how did you miss that step when you observed? They go, I never did that, Paul. So I think that's a really key point. In our wrap-up time, I want to share with people, you can watch Brandon's webinar by texting 1-215-798-9897. What will they learn in that webinar if they watch it on that, Brandon?
Yeah, so they'll kind of learn about more of the soft skills, the patient communication, case acceptance, how to get your patients to say yes to treatment, because at the end of the day, it's a 1 hour webinar and I can't teach you all the clinical skills that I've attained in 1 hour, but hopefully you're going to get some different talking tips, some of my patient-friendly phrases, how to manage conflict, and again, just handling day-to-day associate dentist business, I guess you would say.
I love that. And the RIPE Global program, people can get the best deal possible through our sponsor by texting RIPE to 215-798-9897. I'm really proud of Arash because now he's created some program, maybe you guys know, where if you do RIPE, you can get reimbursed for that. Tell me about that, Ahad. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, Brandon told me about that, and I've already started the process of looking into like doing more courses with RIPE and working at Access. So yeah, but Brandon knows all the details.
Yeah, I can speak to that real quick.
Yeah, tell me about that, Brandon.
Yeah, so I unfortunately he did not have this deal going on when I signed up for it, but
you should give him grief about that somehow. You should say,
right?
I want something else.
I am, and and he is still giving it to me in the sense of he said he can't retroactively pay for it, of course, but he will because the way it works is you do pay up front, but then he reimburses you as you take it. So like when you complete a module, you get paid for that, the amount that you paid. And that way, because he doesn't want to just pay for it and then have people leave and then kind of stick with it. You have to stay with the company to be able to take advantage of that benefit. But again, it's very, it's been a great process. I'm going to be taking the implantology fellowship next because it's, since it's paid for, I mean, I've got to take advantage of that,
I think that's a smart thing. We just did something with our associates where Aaron Nicholas, one of my sponsors, they did his clinical accelerator program. It's all on Zoom. It has a lot to do with mindset, has a lot to do with timing yourself, has a lot to do with that. and we paid for half and they paid for half. I mean, I always find this phrase to be gross, skin in the game. I don't know where it came from. Don't tell me, right? But you want to have shared interest, right? When you guys are owners, if you ever become owners and you want a team member to do something, you want to make it a win-win for both people. And I think that's amazing that Arash has created this win-win, but also held you guys accountable because you got to do the thing to get reimbursed. So I think that's awesome. I just want to see if there's anything else I want to share here before we finish up. If people want to get this recording because they're listening in, text recording to 215-798-9897. I can't thank you two guys enough, but share with me this. I know people are going to listen. And I know even though you said you could reach out to the Nacho guy, they say, I don't want to reach out to the Nacho guy, but they're going to want to reach out to you. So Ahad, if someone is watching in, how can they reach out to you, whether it's through Instagram, Facebook, DM, just give us your best way.
So the best way to reach out to me is Instagram or Facebook. It's really easy to find me. You can ask Paul, he'll connect you, or, I'm very easy to reach and I will get back to you really quickly.
Awesome. Brandon, how about you?
Yeah, same here. You can reach out to me through Instagram or Facebook. Also, if you want to email me as well, I can put my email in here, and I'll put it in the chat here.
We'll put it in the chat when we're recording.
Reach out to me.
People can text Springfield to 215-798-9897 to apply with Dr. Arash. And one of the things, Brandon, I know you're doing two things, but in your sense, how many Job Connect people are down there working right now? I know you got somebody's husband and this. Give me a sense of the numbers.
For like Arash's associates?
Arash's associate team, yeah.
I'm pretty sure probably it's got to be at least 90%. I mean, we have one doctor who is here, who's been with us for a long time and was before Dentist Job Connect. But outside of that, I'm pretty sure every person, has been through Dentist Job Connect.
So, I mean, that just shows you that why dental students should pay attention to the right place, because you're going to get it. You're in the right place. Ahad, you're looking to go to a place that's more right for you. Doesn't mean where you are is wrong, more right for you. But if you don't pay attention to this, and just like I tell patients, hey, you can do this and chew and smile with confidence. And if you don't do this, you're going to have an infection to ruin your vacation. If you don't pay attention to the right things early in your dental school career, you could wind up in the wrong place. So I truly appreciate your guys' time. Stick around with me for 1 minute. Everyone here on the webinar, thanks so much for watching and share something that you guys learned along the way. Thanks for watching, and we'll get this recording out to everybody. Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you, guys.